efficient, effective therapy for the body.
I don't do anything else but this work. I don't integrate it with absolutely anything else. And I don't say that to impress anyone, it's just that it seems so good it was worth putting 100% of what I do into it. One of the cases that I told George about just recently was a couple, they're originally from New Jersey. They've been in Africa for 24 years. The woman of this couple had been bitten by a viper in Africa 8 years ago. She was bitten the Achilles tendon, and it just ate away the side of her ankle, the side of her foot, tremendous scarring. So for the last 8 years, she had been just walking on the ball of her foot with lightning bolt-like pain pretty much all the time. They came for 2 weeks, and at the end of the 2 weeks, actually before the 2 weeks was up, she was absolutely pain-free, and what I didn't think was possible, she was walking with an absolutely normal gait. They're amazing cases, and I'm just always so thankful that I've got this kind of work to use there. It's every day that these things happen, so even if I don't call, no, I'm thinking about you all the time.
Well, thank you. We also talk about what's the intensity of the light. It's called output. What's the output of the light therapy? It's like the volume knob on your stereo. Okay? So you could take your stereo and you could, if you like the song, you could pump that volume up so loud that it could damage your ears. Okay? Or if you're not interested in the song, you could turn that volume down so low that you cannot perceive that there's sound coming out of the speakers. The song could be the same song the whole time, okay? But the volume is the output, which is how loud it is. Is it really loud and damaging, or is it really low and barely stimulating? That's how you need to think about light therapy. When we have red light therapy, let's say 620 nanometers like the GRT light, it's red constantly, okay? So it's red the entire time. If we were to turn that output up, it could actually burn you, okay? If you turn that output down, it becomes a low stimulation, cold light therapy they call it, or low level light therapy. Okay, does that make sense? So remember the James Bond movie, I forgot which one it was, where they had the laser beam that's going to cut them in half? Goldfinger. Excellent. So even though that was a red laser beam, the intensity was up very high, high enough to cut and burn. Okay? The light therapy devices that we're talking about are very low. They're not going to cause cutting or burning or those kind of things. Most people can't even feel the stimulation. And when they do, they attribute it to localized circulation increasing. Okay? So, let's see. Let's talk about the caveats for light therapy. The most important caveat for light therapy is do not shine it in your eyes. And that's the major #1 precaution. Okay? LEDs are less of an eye hazard than lasers. Okay, and especially infrared lasers, extremely hazardous for the eyes. That's why companies that make infrared lasers, they say place the unit on the body, okay, place the unit on the body, turn the unit on, wait till you're finished, turn it off, and then remove it from the skin. Do not wave it around, okay, because they cannot see it happening, see the light, the laser being emitted. It's more of an eye hazard, not because they're going to shine it directly in your eye, but if they hold it and they hit a shiny surface and then it bounces into your eye, that's a big issue. Okay, so that's why we don't, infrared therapy is very effective, but we do not allow that in the seminar because of the eye hazard. Now there's 3 philosophies of light therapy. Okay, the first one is tissue saturation philosophy. Now the tissue saturation philosophy is, we're just going to shine as much light therapy on the area to stimulate healing, increase oxygenation, increase circulation to help the body heal faster. Okay? It's the same philosophy as using an ice pack or an ultrasound. If your wrist hurts, you shine it on the wrist. Okay? If your shoulder hurts, you shine it on the shoulder with as much light therapy as possible. And the products that are out there will, generally you can tell just by how much energy they have or how many diodes they have. The things you see on television are geared towards that type of light therapy. Okay, it's the non-educated way of using light therapy, basically. Now, the second philosophy is the acupuncture philosophy, and that's using a light or a laser to stimulate meridian points to achieve an acupuncture-like correction. Okay. Now, I don't practice acupuncture or meridian therapy, but doctors that do, they've told me that the light by itself is just as good as using the laser, the needles. And if you use the light on top of the needles, you'll get an even more profound correction. So that's if you do that, that's something that you should look at there. Now, what I developed and patented was a neuroactivation philosophy. This is what we do in quantum neurology. Now, this is where we do before and after neurological tests to identify the corrections using light therapy. Okay, and this is the powerhouse of using light therapy. In my opinion, it's the most effective use of light therapy, and it's the most immediate changes. And surprisingly, we actually use the light the least of the three philosophies. You know, people are using the first philosophy of tissue saturation. They're using it up to 30 minutes an hour at a time. Acupuncture, they're using it minutes at a time on each meridian point. And we're only using it on average maybe 5 seconds per correction. Okay, so big difference in those philosophies. Okay, and the GRT light was designed specifically for this work. Okay, so now you're going to hear me say it's a big deal all the time. Now, you know, quantum neurology is a big deal because a lot of these things are new, and I need to kind of wake people up and say, no, this is really important. This is a big deal. Okay? So because it's a new concept, sometimes you just need to emphasize those things. When you go home to your practice, you're going to find yourself saying the same thing to your patients. This is a big deal. All right? They may not understand what it means to get, you know, a plantar response back that wasn't there. They may not understand what it means to have sensory function return. They may not understand or comprehend what, you know, a corneal reflex change on the body means. So you need to kind of educate them and say, no, this is a big deal. This is, you know, normally this doesn't come back. You know, people live like this the rest of their lives. And you have to educate them how it affects their life.
It was July before I got to the first quantum neurology seminar, part one. I had been in shoes for a week. The previous year had been casts and worked special boots and staying off my feet completely for 3 months, a couple of times. And I went to the seminar and I was walking in shoes and I was happy, but it was quite a limp.
And you had a Charcot.
It all stemmed from a Charcot joint that continued to break down 3 times over the course of 2.5 years. And so the first one there, George pulled me up to work the myotomes and teach the class. And literally in 10 minutes, I was walking without a limp that day. I was sold on this work immediately. I knew this is something I had to continue to learn. And the next day, we were coming up the stairs, Brad and I and another friend, and we got to the top of the stairs and we're like, did you see that? I walked up 2 at a time without the handrail. The day before, it was 1 step at a time with the handrail. And I knew that this was a work we had to continue.
So you need